Hello YouTube friends, it's Randy here with We Crafty Creations. I am finishing up my series on product photography. I do apologize for anyone who's been waiting around for more videos. I have just been incredibly busy and the weather has not cooperated very well, and then I got sick and etc, etc. Excuses, right? Well, here I am today going over outdoor photography, taking your products outdoors into natural light or near windows if needed. You don't have to be all the way outside, but somewhere where there's the natural light, not using a light box, not using light from inside of your home, but using light from outside, basically. One important thing to talk about is the different types of light that you see. You kind of see on this infograph here, if you're in the middle of this, then you've got kind of more of your true natural light, and the farther you get to the right, you're on the cool light side, which turns out to look more bluish, and on the far left you see the warm light side, which is going to make things look more yellow and orangish colored. And this is going to affect the way your product looks, and you want your product to look like the color that it truly is. So you want to try to get that middle of the road, just natural, neutral light, I guess. And so the important thing to think about with that is that that's not only affected by how much sunlight is hitting it, or where it's hitting it in what direction, but it's also about the things that are around you. A lot of things reflect light off of it, and that can affect the colors. For example, I have a shade similar to this one. This is not mine. I took this photo off the internet because I didn't feel like going outside right now at 6 a.m. To go get a picture of the shade, and I don't think I have one, but it kind of looks like this, and it's tan, but it really makes things look orange. And I took some pictures that at the time I was fairly proud of. Sorry, let me find it. For example, this one right here, and it's near that shade, and the sun was shining from the other side of that shade, and it helped to diffuse the light, so we weren't in direct sunlight or anything, but it made things look more orange. And then earlier yesterday I took some photos inside, and I don't know what was affecting it so much, but as you can see, some of these ones over here, they turned out really bluish, greenish looking. And this is what the same thing looks like outside at the same time. This wasn't later in the day or anything like that. This was at the same time. So there was things that were inside of my home that the light was reflecting off of, that was giving everything a bluish tint and cooling down the look of it. And this piece that I use, it's like a piece of marble. It's definitely white and gray. It doesn't have really much of a bluish tint to it. So to have it look that way, I think everybody can agree that this photo right here looks a lot better than this photo right here. This is too dark, first of all, which I haven't edited any of these photos. You can edit them to look a little bit better, but still, this photo is not usable. I need to just delete these photos that I took because they didn't turn out well. Here's a photo of these frogs, and here's a photo of the frogs outside. Completely same time of day and everything else, but clearly this turned out a lot better for me. So I just wanted to point out that as a main thing to think about is, what are the objects that are around your item? Especially the bigger the object, the more it's going to affect the overall color of how the photo kind of colors when everything turns out. So you just need to be careful with that. If you have money to spend, there are light diffusers that you can get. You can get these kind of big, almost transparent, but white, I don't know how to explain. It's kind of the material of tint or something. It's like a mesh material, but it helps to diffuse light, but also to calm it down if it's too warm or too cool. If that makes any sense. So that's something to look into and to think about. But you don't have to have that. These were taken on my back porch. I have an upper deck that's above where that screen is that kind of turns things yellow, and that seems to be a pretty good place. I also have farther into my backyard, I have an area. Sorry, I'm like scrolling. Here it is. We have this little wooden bench, and it's just out kind of surrounded by the woods. And that is a great spot to take photos whenever there's shade there. It works out really well. This was on my back deck, but the sun wasn't on the other side of that shade, so it didn't turn things too orange. And not that one, but this one, yeah. But it did maybe a little bit. So my hand looks kind of reddish, it looks different than it normally looks. And then this photo was taken from a windowsill with the sun coming in from the side. The important thing is to make sure the sun is not directly shining on the product. I don't have a good example for that in my photos, but if the sun is shining directly on that surface where you're trying to take the photos, it's going to make the item look lighter. It's going to just not show the depth of it very well, and depending on what the material is, it might reflect off of it. A good example of a reflection issue is if you're taking photos inside and you've got lights above you and they're shining down on a surface that has any kind of shine to it whatsoever, like this, then it's going to turn out with these big white spots, and it's hard to get rid of that and to fix that. And so it's just not worth it to take these photos and then have to edit them to death just to try to get them to look better. Instead, it just makes more sense to wait to take the photos until you have the best lighting and the best situation. And truly, it does make a difference to wait and test out different times of the day in different spots. For example, this photo and this photo were taken at different times of the day in the same spot. And neither of them are great, but I think it's pretty clear that this one is a lot darker, and it's just because that's where the sun was coming in, wasn't as strong or something, versus this one. I don't like either of them. This one has really harsh shadows. You can tell the sun is coming in from one direction, and then all the shadows are laying the other direction. You can really see the shadows on these little frogs, and you don't want too sharp of shadows. It's not terrible, but compared to these photos, I would say these are much better, in my opinion. There's still a shadow there, but it's just less prominent, and overall, the picture is brighter. So, just to kind of summarize this again, it's just really important to experiment to figure out where the best place is to take photos for you. And once you find that good place, you need to just make note of where and when you took those photos that turned out excellent, and try to replicate that if you can. I know it can be hard depending on the season and depending on your location. And I did want to just point out also that I have a bunch of pictures that were taken inside of my light box, and some of them, like this one for example, is pretty dark and I'm not extremely thrilled about it, but some of them turned out pretty good. And here's some of the same products that we just were looking at in the other places, and I think these turned out pretty good. I was curious to try to put that same piece of I don't know what it is, to be honest, this piece of stone, marble looking stuff, put that into my light box and try to take a picture of the same things under that, but I really like this gray. It's just kind of not distracting, and I'm trying to experiment a little bit and decide which background I like the most and which one's going to be the least distracting and really show off the product. So yeah, we'll just leave it at that. The other thing to keep in mind is just to make sure where is the light coming from compared to where your product is. Like I said, if the light is coming from directly above you, that is not going to turn out well for that shine that comes back off of things. And I mean, even if you look at these products, that doesn't look very good for this vinyl. To have that shiny kind of look to it, it's just not very flattering for it. So you really want the light to be coming from the side of the product. And that also is going to help show the texture of the product, and you want to show that it's not just some kind of like mock-up, that it's not real. You know what I mean? Some of these you might wonder, is this real or not? So you want to make sure it looks 3D, that someone could tell how thick it is, or in general, a general idea of how thick it is. It's really important to be able to show that off, and the best way to do that is with light that comes from the side. Now, when you use a light box, if the edges around the sides of the light box are reflective material of some sort, then it is going to reflect that back onto the product from the side. So these were used with a diffuser on the top of the light box where the light was actually coming from, but then the sides were reflective. So something to keep in mind. Or if you have a light box that has lights that actually shine from the sides somehow, that would be good too. But it just depends on how much space you have, how big your products are. It's really hard to get everything perfect. If you really can't use a light box because your products are larger, then it's a really good idea to find a really good spot in your home that you can use over and over again. Set yourself up some type of base, to put the products on that can be moved around potentially. So if the best place to do this is near your dining room table, you can't have those products sitting on your dining room table all the time, and you don't want to clutter that up. But if you have something mobile that you can take around with you, and then you can put away when you're no longer using it, and then be able to pull it out easily and set it back up, that's your best case scenario. And once you find that kind of special spot, then you can just keep using it over and over again, and it's going to make a really big difference for your photos. Just have a critical eye, keep playing around with it, keep trying. It's not something that you can master, in my opinion, overnight. There might be some people who are real naturals at taking good photos and recognizing when the photos are good or when they're not as good. But I think for most of us, it's hard to even, there's so many pictures I took 5 years ago when I first kind of started getting into this stuff that I thought were good. I really did. And I didn't know that they weren't, and then I asked for critiques from people, and I asked friends and family to be honest, and I got some critique back that I, was kind of surprised by, honestly. It was a little bit, kind of hurt by it or whatever, but that's good because I learned from it and I got better, and that's what's important. The most important thing that you're going to do with these photos is accurately represent exactly what you're selling so people can 100% know what color, what shape, what texture, what dimensions, everything they could need to know about this item so they're not surprised when they get it if it looks any different than they expected it to look, and to make sure you're conveying quality and that you're conveying what your business is all about. So that's a little harder, and the quality thing is one thing, but it's also like conveying an emotion, triggering a response from somebody, that type of thing. And so, somebody who loves butterflies, is this going to catch their eye? Is this going to be something that makes them say, oh, I want to click on that and look at more. I want to know more about this. And they have to really be motivated to do that. And so having really good photos is a way to set yourself apart from others who might be posting up their listings and they have photos, that are like this or that are like this, and you have a similar product, but your photos don't, have those issues, then you're going to be more successful at capturing more of the sales because people are going to trust you more and gravitate more towards that. So I feel like this has kind of been a long-winded speech here, but yeah, I just wanted to kind of talk about that, and hopefully you can experiment and have fun with it. Just try not to distract people too much with too much extra stuff in your photos. I like to do, some props and some things in the background, like on these hearts, I have some like felt heart things in the background that you can barely see. That's just a little something that you could do, but you don't want to overpower any particular photo with props and things that people might think are included with it that aren't actually included, things like that. So just something to keep in mind. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. I have one other idea, I think, for a photography video that I want to cover, but this series is wrapping up. If you have any suggestions for other videos you'd like to see, definitely let me know. I want to work on some more Goimagine videos for some help situations. I've seen some different questions on how to do certain things in Goimagine, so I want to try to narrow that down and make some nice videos for that. But if there's anything else that people want to see, if you are doing Michael's Maker Place or whatever that's called, honestly, I haven't worked on it at all. I just had too many things going on and really shouldn't have started that. But I might revisit it at some point in time once things chill out for me a little bit. So if I do, I'll definitely make sure to make some videos about that. But I do apologize for anybody who came here for that and hasn't seen a whole lot. It's just not been a priority. I posted some things up. I didn't make any sales, and I just didn't try any further, which is what a lot of people do on Etsy, on Goimagine, everywhere. People will just post up, 10 listings or whatever. Even if they're really great listings they put a lot of work into, if they don't get any sales for those 10 listings, they just don't try anymore, and that just goes by the wayside. And that's what a whole bunch of the Etsy shops are. That's just a really common thing. They have so many sellers that do that and then never pick it back up again. So hopefully I can try again and keep working on it. I know it takes consistent work. I just want to focus on Goimagine and Etsy right now, and then maybe before the holiday season starts to come into play, I can get some more things up on Michael's Maker Place. Makers, yeah. I don't know what it's called. Anyways, give me a thumbs up if you appreciate this video, if it helped you in any way, and make sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like it, and we will be back soon. Bye!